Hello, everyone. Welcome back. You're watching the Kaiser Report. I'm John here with Kaiser, and we're going to go over a few things today that are taking place in and around our country and around the world with regard to tariffs, the funeral arrangements for the Pope, and several other things that are happening right now around the world. Are at best scary in some situations with regard to the wars that are taking place and what's going on with the peace efforts with this Ukraine-Russian conflict that is continuing due to the fact that we cannot get to the table Zelensky with the idea that he may have to give up something, which right now the crux of the give-up is going to be the Crimean area, which is occupied by Russia right now and is largely of Russian population. So that is a stalemate there, and I know that Mr. Rubio is not happy about the reluctance on the Ukrainian side to do things, while the mainstream media continues to tell us that it's all Putin's fault. Well, we know better than that. We've watched this guy now for several years going through with the hand out and showing up in a sweatshirt to meet with the Pope, showing up in a sweatshirt to address our Congress, showing up in a sweatshirt to sit down in the Oval Office with the President of the United States, which he did with Biden, and Biden just kowtowed to anything that he decided to say, which is Zelensky. And Zelensky is a problem, and Zelensky, as I've said before on this broadcast and continue to tell you, does not want a cessation to this conflict because it's the end of him. The end of the war in the Ukraine will be the end of Zelensky. There is no doubt in my mind about that, and I'm sure that other world leaders around this beautiful world that God has given us really realize that Zelensky is part of the problem. And I know that France and Spain and several places where he's going to beg for money in the last month or so and continues to do so, and then wants us to put boots on the ground to protect them if the war comes to an end, which I don't agree with, not one bit. That is a very corrupt country. It always has been. It's been a haven for Nazis since the end of World War II. Everyone knows this. Why it's being covered up by the propaganda-driven media that we have in this country, and in some cases around the world. The UK is not a whole lot better at letting you know what the real truth is about anything. And it has to come to an end. So does the Israeli-Hamas conflict that has to come to an end as well. And that is being negotiated by our State Department and our president right now. But, you know, when you tune in to MSNBC, NBC, CNBC, CNN, you're not going to get any factual information unless it's a twist or can be used against the current administration that sits in power right now. They are bought and paid for by the nutcase Democratic Party that is in shambles right now, and it is showing the mental illness that exists not only in the streets today, which we have a face full of with these marches and the out-and-out craziness of some of these people that are carrying the signs and carrying the narrative that is being pushed on them by a fragmented Democratic Party that is in a civil war with itself and trying to convince mainstream America that the problem is Donald Trump. It's not Donald Trump. We, the thinking people and the non-crazies in this country, which amount to over 77 million people, have came out and last November told this country what we want. It's not like that he was elected and came in and came out with all of the things that he wants to do. He campaigned on the promises of getting the criminal element and illegal entries into this country back from whence they came. There was never anything covered up about that. So these people that are telling you differently need to be reminded that the things that are happening right now, and that includes Doge, and that includes cleaning out the swamp, was promised, and it was a campaign promise by the Trump administration coming into office and throughout an election, which the American population said, yes, this is what we want. So the media decides to make you believe that you made a wrong choice, you didn't listen to the right people, and now look what's happening. Well, what's happening is that prices are, in some cases, gone up, but oil prices have gone down, which is a good thing for the gas pumps. And the food prices are starting to decline, such as eggs and things of that nature. Is it still very expensive to go buy fresh groceries? Yes, it is, but it's coming down. And the more help we give to the American farmers, and now and in the future, will solidify the fact that when we grow our own here, not have to ship it by ships, airplanes, and everything else across oceans to get here, then we are going to be far better off and pay far less at the grocery registers when we check out. This is pure and simple common sense, which the Democratic Party and the people that are in the streets right now have lost their minds. Mental illness is on stage right now, bigger and better and more prevalent than it ever has been in my lifetime. And if you just turn on your TV and watch the nightly news where they're lauding these people in the streets that are claiming all kinds of nonsense during their intent on, I don't know what their intent is, other than to disprove what's really happening and bring us back into the fantasy land that we had to live in through 4 years of Biden-Harris. And a media that has been promoted to a propaganda machine. If they want to come out and tell you about the Third Reich, as Al Gore, you know, the guy that invented the internet, algorithm. Well, he's out now with more propaganda and using the Third Reich one more time, like they haven't worn out this Hitler business. And they have to stop and realize that we are nothing like the propaganda machine that the Third Reich used to destroy an entire population of people, or try to. And then we have to tolerate the propaganda enthusiasts that are taking over college campuses, which are, we're paying through the nose for an education here, and then you can't even go to a class because you may have wore a Star of David or professed not to like the Palestinians. Why are we protesting for the Palestinians here when we know that Hamas is the one that hurt their own population of Palestinians, not us? So why are we putting up with that, driven by our mainstream media, who gets a kick out of showing you this crap especially on these morning programs, that you can't eat. You throw up in your mouth every time you see Morning Joe and Mika, because you know what they're up to. They're liars. They lie all through their broadcast, and they do this with abandon because they think that they can convince you that you were a bad person for voting what your conscience asked you to vote for and what your particular needs may have been. And you're not wrong. I don't care if you voted for Kamala Harris. That was not a wrong vote. I'm here to tell you that you voted your conscience and you feel that you made the right choice. And no one should chide you for that. And no one should chide anyone on the other side that voted for Trump because the media tells you that Trump is going to destroy this and end democracy and end this. Democracy is being ended by the people that you see in the street professing and showing their mental illness and hate and discontent for a country that is probably one of the freest, best countries in the world, and the world has never seen anything like it. And they're out protesting against it. If they feel that strongly about their situations, then they need to move to the country that they think is better. And do it legally. Don't crash through a border. But just let's take a look at the mental illness at work in this country. Take a look right here.
All this relentless, self-righteous posturing. It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Well, they just dropped the student loan bomb. The federal government just announced that it's coming for your loans, and collections begin May 5th for student loan debt. If you're in default, they can garnish your wages, they can take your tax return, and they can even take your benefits like Social Security.
You will see darkness, you will be pushed, and our society needs you to stand together at this time. Our country loves you. To our doctors and our nurses, I wear these laces.
The gentlelady's time has expired. The gentleman from Maryland is reserved.
I swear to God, the only way to get a job as a teenager is to know somebody. Because the only job I'm actually getting an interview for, my friend works at. And the only reason she works there is because her mom works there. I need me a job, bro.
He just unmatched me on Bumble, so I guess we're not going to get drinks anymore. But I thought I would show you guys my outfits.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no.
Just so that we're all abundantly clear here, not only are trans people sacred, they are wildly evolved human beings. I'm going to invite you to imagine for a moment the amount of strength, courage.
I'm going to stop you right there.
Sell crazy someplace else. We're all stocked up here.
It's hard to believe that they want to make you believe that their way is the way, and you have to knuckle under and forget everything that you were taught through Sunday school, regular school, and through common sense that we're all born with. What happened to theirs, I don't know. But I really do believe that there's either something in the food, or it's drugs, or alcohol, or just plain mental illness that has been left unmedicated and unchecked. Because no one should be acting this way. Just this morning, the local Lowe's had to put a basically nude person out of the store in Bristol, Tennessee, he showed up in a thong and completely nude other than a tiny string, and they had to chase him around the parking lot. This is mental illness at its finest. And if you're protesting, doing something of this nature, you really should talk to someone, because it's not normal, and you should be embarrassed to do the things like this that you do. And I'm talking to those people that cannot get past the Trump derangement syndrome, the Elon derangement syndrome, and the United States of America discontent and hatred that is going on right now. And they can talk about the cabinet picks of being, not in a line with their twisted thinking, and that's fine. That's what freedom of speech is for. Say what you want to say, but say it with some dignity, folks. So that brings us to the Democratic Civil War that is taking place in full bloom right now, all through the media airwaves and the like. And it's fueled by these visits by our Congress people down to El Salvador, where they are just enamored with the MS-13 criminal that was sent there. And don't start telling me that I'm mispronouncing his name. I know it's Kilmar, but my name for him is Kilmore, because that's what he's going to do in El Salvador if he's turned loose, or here if he's turned loose, because this is what MS-13 does. It's part of their initiation process. He has it written on his hands. It is no doubt in my mind that he is a member of MS-13, and probably in very good standing. And to want to bring him back into this country when he's already under a deportation decree is ridiculous, because they don't want to send him back to El Salvador because they know he's a criminal there, and they know that he will be a guest of their jails, no matter which jail it is, for crimes that they know that he has committed. And for a judge to sit on a bench and decide that he's going to make the decision where this guy lives is absolutely ludicrous. And we know this, but it still keeps happening. It's crazy. The criminal element in this country right now is getting more attention than a veteran or a person that is in need from the VA or housing developments or any of this nature that's going on. Where were these senators during Western North Carolina's devastating storm situation? Where were these senators when the city of Los Angeles was on fire? Where were these senators when people were being killed left and right by illegal entries into this country, whether or not they were gang members or not? They were here illegally. They committed crimes, and these lousy judges that now think that they know more than the President of the United States or our Homeland Security Department have a lot of nerve to even decide, after letting them back in the streets. They were arrested in most cases. Every one of these people that killed these women were arrested before and let back out in the streets, including the Laken Riley murderer that was arrested in New York, arrested in Pennsylvania, and then went on down to Georgia and killed this girl. What part of these senators' thinking is missing these facts? And they go on to these weekend shows, and shows like Morning Joe and Good Morning America, and they are being pleadful for the criminal element while they've turned their back on their own constituents in some cases and their own countrymen in other areas. Take a look here.
These people are crazy. Holy moly!
So that he can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen.
So a lot of questions there. First of all, who did pay for this trip?
This was an officially cleared, congressional trip, cleared on a bipartisan basis. Yes, like every other trip.
Welcome back. 4 House Democrats arrived in El Salvador today to push for the return, first the release, then the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. The Maryland man, you've heard about him a lot, mistakenly deported from the United States to El Salvador.
And so we don't want to wait till things get worse. We're here to build off of the work of Senator Van Hollen, who heroically came down here.
Senator Van Hollen, who heroically came down here
and showed his family and the world for the first time since he was taken down here that he is alive, that he was alive, and he was well at that time. And so what we want to know is, where is he at now? What is his condition now? His family deserves to know. The people deserve to know, but we're also here to make a statement that this cannot be allowed and isn't allowed in our country. And people should know we're not the first here. We're not going to be the last members of Congress to be here in El Salvador fighting and demanding the return of Abrego Garcia.
These people are sick. These people are sick.
Hey. You know, I just want to bring it down a bit. Boys, a little lower. Thank you, fellas. Right. That's right. That's right.
It's almost amazing at the collapse, the witnessing of the collapse of the Democratic Party that is taking place in this country. It is unbelievable. But yet we're making progress in the areas that are important to this country and you and I. And those areas are where the negotiations are going with the dreaded tariff situations. It's a movable piece on a game board that is being moved by a professional at negotiation on not only taxes, but wars and the like. And it all dovetails together. If you stop and think and use common sense, you'll quickly see that the game that's being played is part tariff, part ending of wars, part peace negotiations, and it's all dovetailed together into one individual that has his eye on the ball and will bring very good things if allowed to do his job and get these stupid federally politically appointed judges and AGs the hell out of the courtroom and out of this business that they know nothing about. Every one of these local federal judges is devoid of any understanding of tariff and trade and things of that nature, so don't let them get involved in it. And if they want to protect the criminals, and some of these judges turn these criminals right back into the street and in your lap, and it has been proven, so we don't need a whole lot of fact-checking there. It's been done. Just look at the city of New York. Look at this idiot that wants to bring this thug, literally, Kilmore, back into Maryland. I would not be very comfortable with that if I was their constituent, but yet the people in that state are against it, and they're not listening. When you elect somebody to do the business for you out of your state in the federal government, and they're in there not listening to what you're asking them to do, there's a problem. And these people need to be primaried the heck out of there, because obviously they're not working for their constituents that voted to put them in there. They're now working for the Democratic machine and themselves. And someone else is pulling those strings, and we need to make sure we know who it is. And it comes to today's news about the lack of procreation that's going on in this country, and someone has made a suggestion to Trump that if we can make babies great again by offering an incentive program, that's what they're looking at now. Whether or not it would work remains to be seen, but we have a president that will take somebody's suggestion and look into it, and if it's a viable avenue to fix a problem, not create a problem, but to solve a problem, which he's very good at, we may see some benefit from it. It does not hurt to try. It's going to cost money, of course. Everything that Congress gets involved in costs 6 times more than it should, because everybody has to have their piece of pork in a pie that goes up for a look-see. Anyway, but CNN got all over a congressperson the other day about this make babies great again deal, and CNN, of course, they have these gotcha questions that they're looking for a certain answer, and if the congressperson or a person being interviewed doesn't get back in the correct fashion to them, then they take it from there to try and twist the angles to show you something that may or may not be true.
That's not what you think.
But when they get caught lying straight out, it's always fun to watch. Take a look right here.
But, I totally agree that we should do a lot more as an administration to support families. And one way to do that is childcare. Another way to do that is paid leave. And I think it's unfortunate that, conservatives, Republicans have voted against those very ideas in Congress. The child tax credit was opposed by every Republican, including Mike Waller.
But you as a Democrat also strongly...
You did vote against... You voted against a reconciliation bill that had actual child care in it. You did, and the child tax credit.
When did I vote against that?
You voted against it way back in 2022.
I wasn't elected until 22,
well,
so I didn't come
Republican
to Congress until
every
23, but thank you. So you apologize for lying?
I'm not lying. Every Republican voted.
I didn't vote on the bill, and I have supported the child tax credit.
Gotcha, bitch!
When did I vote against that?
You voted against it way back in 2022.
I wasn't elected until 22.
Well,
and she lied.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
CNN gets caught often in these lies, and so does CBS. And the nature of the beast with mainstream media and legacy press is always going to be, we got to get this person or get that person, or let's get the goods on this one and get the goods on that one. And if we don't like the answer, we'll make up our own. And when they get caught lying, there's never an apologize effort on their part to right the wrong that they just lied to you about. They'll wait for several days when it's not fresh in your mind and come out with a real slippery excuse for the lie. And they get away with it because they are, mainstream media. Well, it's not always the case. And as you just saw here, there's one that just got caught lying. There'll be no apologies coming from CNN. They never do. And then when you look at the press, such as the New York Times and the Washington Post and things of that caliber, when they do make a mistake and they do the retraction or an apology, it comes on page 35 in a section so small you need a magnifying glass to read it. So this is how they operate. They're a propaganda machine for the Democratic Party, which is now splintered so bad and coming apart at the seams that I don't know what it will take to get that party back to a viable group that you could actually think about voting for. They've shown you through the last presidential speech on where they sat on their hands for a sick child and people who lost their loved ones to the criminal element that was led into this country by the Biden administration and so on. They've shown you this. They've shown you the lies and the cheating that they came up with on several areas, not only election fraud, which is now coming out. We know that there was some problems there. We know that now that the illegals were given the right to vote in certain areas and covered up so we didn't know about it. But it was too big to rig this time because America is fed up. We are sick and tired of all of the woke ideologies and lies and cheats of the left side and some on the right. We saw it. We made the move to make sure that it got broken up. And now they're crying and screaming in the streets because it is being broken up, and it's being broken up in a correct fashion, and everything will be okay. God has his hands on this administration. He has his hands on this country. And even with the loss of the Pope, we have good times to look forward to. Speaking of the Pope, I guess the funeral will be taking place. Melania and Donald Trump will be in attendance, I'm told, and I believe that's a great thing. Whether or not the vice president and his family will join, I'm not sure of. I think probably not. I think we need to keep those individuals separated because the world is a little upside down and a little crazy right now. So pray every day for this administration, pray for this world, pray for all of the world leaders, and pray for your enemies that they become enlightened and find the way in the path of Christ and understand that there's good to be found in each and every individual that you come past or come through your walk of life getting to know. So stop, smile at someone, be kind to someone, and it'll come back. It comes back beautifully if exercised in that fashion. So with that, that's our Wednesday, our Hump Day presentation to you here at the Kaiser Report. I don't understand some people and their reticence to accept what is happening and accept it in the good faith that it will be okay. There should not be a civil war amongst any party or in this country ever again. But we'll see how that works out. And until then, stay safe, stay strong, and stay tuned to the Kaiser Report for more commentary and information as it comes. Bye-bye now.